Hey y'all, let's talk about some fun stuff today, shall we? Let's talk about beauty and beauty standards. This is a much debated topic in Christian women's circles, especially once you get into like the head covering Christian women's circles. Is standards of modesty. What is your standard? Where should your hemline be? And how much of your hair should be covered, and your elbows and your collarbone and what have you. Does God have clear-cut standards in His book? I don't think so, and I think that's why people get so there's so many differences, and why people get so heated and whatnot. But let me give you a little background on my story. So when the revolting man and I first got married, there was a couple of things that he told me that was kind of his standard, which I started to go by. He liked long hair, so I knew that I was going to grow my hair out. And then he didn't want like spaghetti straps or bra straps showing or whatever. So that I easily did that. But as far as anything else, I just whatever. I was comfortable in it, and then I never was much of a flashy type. I'm not a flashy type anyways. So, but fast forward a couple of years down the road, how long had we been married? Let's see, probably about 3 or 4 years. 3, 4, yeah, okay. So, and I started studying the head covering stuff, and when I started wearing one. I kind of naturally trended towards wearing more skirts after that, and just because it felt more natural. It was like, they went together better or something, and not too much longer after that, I stopped wearing makeup altogether, which I never wore a whole lot of makeup. I wore makeup kind of like on special occasions and stuff, which is kind of funny because some days I would feel I'll put makeup on before he comes home, and so he would come home and he'll say, "Where are you going?" So, it was always kind of a funny reaction, but, it wasn't a whole lot. I'd do like the eyeliner, mascara, and that was pretty much it, nothing going full blown or anything. So, so a couple years after I started wearing the skirts more and the head coverings, I stopped wearing makeup, and I asked him one day, "Hey, do you wish I still wore makeup, or something like that, or do you miss it?" And he hadn't even noticed. So that to me was like the clincher. I was like, okay, well, this is silly. Why do I even bother? He doesn't care either way. And you know how men are. You think, in the most unattractive situations, they're like, "Wow, you look great," and I'll be like up in the garden and I'll be sweating and dirty, and he'll make some kind of compliment or something. And so anyways, I just said, this is why would I wear makeup if he doesn't even notice? So stopped wearing makeup, and then I never really wore a whole lot of jewelry to begin with. Earrings every now and then, and I still wear them occasionally. But anyways, all that to say that I don't think there's any clear lines in the Bible. Go lay down. Go. That, he stinks. It's the dog. That I think that, God says, no, you can't wear this or wear that. I think that there's a couple arguments to be made in the New Testament of dressing modestly or not to bring attention to yourself. And I think that's primarily for married women, because that's where the danger comes in, that if you're not dressing, if you're dressing to tell the world or the opposite sex that you're available, and you're not, and you're married, and then that could potentially cause somebody to stumble, and I think that's the precautions, the safeguards. So single women, I think, have it a little bit different. I think that they can show that they're available. They might not want to show everything, but there's a definite liberty there. Anyways, I don't want to get too off track. I didn't really script this at all. Not really script. I'll script my videos, but I do usually have like points that I want to make, and I try to stick with it. But So I was looking at these two verses in the New Testament, which is, I think, the most clear place where it talks about how a woman should dress. Although there is the one in the Old Testament that talks about that, you know, men shouldn't wear what pertaineth to a woman and vice versa or something like that, which, I mean, you can't get much clear-cut instruction from that except for, you know, what is a man? No cross-dressing, you know, I mean, that's what it's talking about, no cross-dressing, right? So when I was looking at 1 Peter 3 through the, I don't know, a couple of verses. I forgot to mark down the last verse. It's pretty well known, and I'll just go through it briefly. And this was like the ASV or something like that. Usually I use King James, but it's slightly different. It was what I happened to have at the time. Do not adorn yourself outwardly by braiding hair, gold ornaments, fine clothing. Let your adornment be the inner self with the lasting beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. So that's pretty much the same thing that 1 Timothy 2:9 talks about. It's the clothes is not what makes the woman, you know, it's the inside, it's the inner spirit. But listen to this. In this way, long ago, the holy women who hoped in God used to adorn themselves by accepting the authority of their husbands. Boom. So how did they adorn themselves? By accepting the authority of their husbands. That's how they adorn themselves? By their submission? Whoa, you know, that's pretty eye-opening to me. I mean, I always sort of like knew that, but when I read that, I was like, whoo, you know, you get like goosebumps or whatever. So, does your husband want you to wear a head covering? If he doesn't, you know what? You're not supposed to wear a head covering. And I know what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 11, but first and foremost, you're supposed to be obedient to your husband, right? So that's the key. That's the key. That's God's standard for beauty, is obedience to your husband. Your husband's authority, that's the key. So you look to your husband for how he wants you to dress. Now, does he not care? And, you know, like, oh, honey, you decide what you want to wear. Well, great. You have that liberty. Now you can decide if you want to wear skirts or if you want to wear pants or if you just want to wear long shirts that cover and, you know, whatever you want to wear. But that's the key, though. This is exciting stuff for me. I'm getting all excited. So it does no good to wear a head covering, if your husband does not want you to wear one. And I've heard a lot of women bemoaning this, you know, oh, my husband doesn't want me to wear one and I'm sinning now. No, you're not. As long as you're in submission, as long as you're being obedient, God's going to be okay with you not wearing a head covering. You know, I mean, that's the important part. That's the important part. So, and we can, this leads off into a whole lot of other, you know, depth into the whole submission topic, but we'll just stick with this whole outward beauty thing. So, does your husband want you to wear makeup? Well, wear makeup. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that makeup is evil, and even if it did, it still says, wives, submit to your husbands. Wives, be obedient to your husbands. So if your husband wants you to wear makeup, wear some makeup for him. You know, if he wants you to look like a tramp, I really feel bad for you. And, you know, if it's getting to the extreme where it's, you know, dangerous, or if there's other sin that's involved and whatnot, then, you know, you do have a way out. But, you know, 99% of the time, I don't think it's going to get to that extreme. You know, I mean, you know, that so often these kind of talks or these arguments that people will make will go to that illogical extreme. You know what I mean? And so I try not to go there because it's just not likely. It's not likely. So, bottom line, adorn yourselves with your husband's authority in your submission to your husbands. That's what you should be adorning yourselves. You turn to him, ask him what he wants. Has he voiced an opinion? Or maybe he hasn't even told you what he wants you to do. Maybe he's just offhandedly said, you know, I really like when girls wear skirts. You know, I like the way they look when they're in skirts. Or what, you know, something offhand. Ding! You know, there's your clue. Wear the skirts for the man, you know? I mean, it's all about what he wants. It's not about what you want. It's not about you. It's, you know, like this is God's standard for beauty. You do what your husband wants. the old women, the women of old who hoped in God, adorned themselves by accepting the authority of their husbands. That's so beautiful. This is just astounding to me. Anyways, I've gone on long enough. Wherever you're at in your journey, I'm sure that the most important thing that God's looking at is your obedience to your husband and your heart, right? And so whatever he wants you to do, whatever he's asking you, whether he's asking you to hey baby, you look really good in those jeans, you know? I mean, if that's what he wants, then that's what you do. Other than that, if it's up to you, you just seek to be, make sure that you're not presenting yourself as available to the world at large, and I think you're going to be fine. You know, I don't think there's any hardcore lines. There's no thou shalt not, you know, wear whatever. Yeah, we just can't make those arguments, but we can make the argument that you're supposed to be in submission to your husband. So, got it? All right, y'all take care, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.